What's going on YouTube? This is Rybo at the bench, and today I have another head-to-head video. Today looking at two $200 Spydercos. So this is the Spydiechef and the Kapara S30V L200N, LC200N, sorry. You have titanium, carbon fiber, yada, yada, yada. So these are two very different knives in some ways, but they are very similar price Spydercos that are both very, very popular. So while I have them both on the bench, I thought it would be fun to do kind of a head-to-head. This review, like pretty much everything on my channel, is going to be totally subjective, and you're probably going to disagree with it. I mean, this is really not going to be a which one is best. This is just going to be which one do I prefer. You may prefer a different one. I think both of these knives are excellent choices, so you can't really go wrong with either one. Secondly, I think you're seeing more of my bench today than you've ever seen in the past. These are a little bit larger knives than I typically have in a head-to-head, so I zoomed out a little bit. You're seeing more of the bench, so just to give you some insight, so this is a bench that I built years ago, a Rybo style. You can look that up, Rybo style workbench. This is walnut and a mixture of white and red oak. These are holes for holdfasts. I do some woodworking on the side, and this is a planing stop that comes up and down. So just in case you're wondering kind of what the bench is, what these little things are, that's what it is. All right, so let's get started. Here are the categories. If I can get this over here. So pocket clip, scales, overall size, ergonomics, action, detent, blade, steel, lock system, and the intangibles category. Like I said, this will be very, very subjective. All right, pocket clip. So this one I'm going to actually call a tie. Both of these have the Spyderco wire clip. I think they're both very, very good. I am a wire clip guy. I thought that this one initially was titanium because the finish matches exactly the titanium handles. However, I don't think that it actually is. Besides that, they're pretty much the same thing, same size. The only difference really that I notice is the canting. It's a little bit more aggressive on the Spydiechef here. It's because it's a wider, thicker knife. When you have this guy closed in the pocket, what that means is basically you're just going to be hiding, I guess if I simulate a pocket, you're just going to be hiding a little bit more of that up on the interior of the pocket. Really, I guess the exterior of the pocket, but you think of it as like hiding it away in the pocket. With the Kapara, you do have it, canted. You just don't need it as aggressive because the Kapara is much slimmer, so you don't really need to hide quite as much. I think both of these work really well. I think this particularly works well in short pockets where you have pockets on the side, not like jean pockets that are more vertical. But either way, I'm going to call this a tie. All right, so next up, scales. So you have carbon fiber and titanium. So like I've said before, I'm not a carbon fiber guy, but man, do I love this. I think it looks really, really sweet, and really, really big fan of it. That being said, it does not have a lot of grip to it, very, very slick, and I tend to like some grippiness on my knife. These are just kind of blocks of titanium. I think that it's chamfered very nicely. You have a nice kind of chamfer around all the edges. Looks really, really nice, not really anything super special. But I'm going to give the advantage here just slightly because you do have this kind of matte texture that does give you a little bit of a not grippy, but it does give you a little bit, to me at least, more purchase on the knife. I find that this is easier to hold on to. Part of that being due to the increased width of the knife, but I think also a little bit with the titanium there. Overall size, so this one will be an easy win for the Kapara. I'm going to go ahead and block out that so it doesn't distract you. This will be an easy win for the Kapara. I think that both of these knives are very good sizes. The Spydiechef, as its name implies, is, to me, very reminiscent of a kitchen knife. That's really wide belly blade and really a blade that I love. However, the Kapara manages to give you like 3.4 inches of sharpened blade length in a fairly slim but robust package in a very thin or fairly thin lightweight knife. I think it's like 3.4 ounces, 3.4 inches in sharpened blade length. Very, very efficient knife, and very, very thin in the pocket, carries very, very nicely. This is just going to be a little bit heavier, a little bit bigger, and you may prefer that, but in terms of overall size, I think that the Kapara probably wins. Ergonomics. This is a really tough one. The Spydiechef here, because of the kind of shape of the handle, to me, it makes a really nice slicer. It puts you at the right angle, I think, to cut with. However, it is a little bit thin, actually very thin. And you do lose a little bit of ergonomics. I think that there's a couple hot spots, like really right there, to me. Apart from that, I think it's very ergonomic. The Kapara, though, thicker handle, forward finger choil. This feels really, really good in the hand. It's a little bit slippery because there's no jimping on the knife, and there's no texture to this carbon fiber. But otherwise, I think a very ergonomic knife. So I'll give the advantage to the Kapara there. Action detent. So you have a frame lock here that works very well and deploys very quickly. Honestly, you can use it kind of like a thumb stud. And the Kapara, very similarly, this is a compression lock, but this is basically a thumb stud knife as well. I mean, you just flick this guy right open, and that's really, really nice. The Kapara has super, super smooth action thanks to the pivot bushing in there. Really, really, really nice. For this one, I will give the advantage to the Kapara for a couple reasons. Number one, just buttery, smooth action. I mean, honestly, the Spydiechef has that as well. You don't quite feel it as much on the deploy as you do on the close. On the close is really, really smooth. The deploy is very nice, but it does open a little bit more, I don't know, aggressively is the right word, but it opens with more of a pop. The Kapara just seems to more glide open really, really nicely and drop shut. A little bit smoother, I think. That may be a personal thing, but yeah, I'm going to give it to that. The other issue that I have with the Spydiechef, really one of the only issues, is that they've cut this, they've kind of milled this hole in the titanium to be the same size as the Spydie hole. While this looks really cool, and I think it's a nice detail, the issue with that is that when you have any thumb sizes that are larger than the Spydie hole, which should be just about everybody, when you're going in here to push up and away, you're pushing right up against the edge of that little corner. And so that to me is just a little bit uncomfortable, and I wish that they had just made it a little bit bigger. I think it would have been much easier to get in and out of. So all of that kind of, it doesn't ruin the action for me, but I think it gives the edge to the Kapara. The blade. So this one will be a win for the Spydiechef. If you can tell from my collection of knives, I like blades with a little bit larger bellies. I think this is a beautiful blade shape, full flat grind. This thing is just made to cut. Nice robust spine here. I mean, honestly, the Kapara has the same thing, but you're just getting a wider blade. More distance between the edge and the spine is always a good thing to me, as long as the grind is done nicely. But this one I have just really, really loved. I think it's a beautiful blade shape aesthetically and also an incredible slicer. Steel. So you have S30V and LC200N. This is supposed to be pretty much rust resistant and impossible to rust. The S30V has done very, very well. I did a little bit of research on this to kind of determine which is the best. It sounds like, the LC200N is like H1 on crack. I mean, H1 kind of sucks in terms of the resist or the what am I thinking? Edge retention. But this one, the edge retention, from what I've read, is on par with S30V. So when I look at this, I see similar edge retention. I can sharpen both of these up just fine. Really, the difference is this one's not going to rust for me, and I don't have to worry about it. So honestly, that's kind of what I've noticed when I use this in the kitchen, that kind of thing, is that I just don't have to worry about it. I can wash it off. I don't have to put any lube on it or anything, and it's absolutely fine. So I think they're about the same in terms of upkeep, except for the rust resistance. So I give the advantage to the Spydiechef. Lock system. So you have compression lock and frame lock. So this is a little bit difficult. Which one do I prefer? I'm typically not a frame lock guy. This is really the first one that I've had that I really, really like. In terms of strength, I think that they're both probably about the same. You have this really big chunk of titanium here, and then with the compression lock, you have that kind of wedge. I don't know. I call it like a wedge liner lock. I know that's probably not totally accurate, but you kind of get what I'm saying there. The compression lock is more fidgety. It's probably more fun, but on this knife in particular, it's right at the thinnest point of the knife. I have trouble disengaging it and a little bit more difficulty using it than on any other compression lock that I've owned. The frame lock, though, is totally fine. There's no over travel stop, which I would have really liked to see on a $200 knife. But the frame lock works absolutely fine. You think about the fact that it's titanium, you have that really big chunk there. I don't think this is going anywhere. It's a very simple mechanism. It's a very simple knife in a lot of ways in terms of the construction, but I will give a slight advantage to that just because I have a little bit of difficulty with the compression lock here. Okay, so that leaves us with the intangibles category. And this one's really tough. I have no idea. Intangibles on this one, I can almost make the case for either one. Honestly, I was super excited about the Spydiechef to get it in, and I've really loved it. It is very basic in a lot of ways. This is an example where Spyderco is not doing a ton here. Well, they are doing a lot here, but it's not in terms of any flash or anything. It's really the combination of titanium plus the type of steel, the really smooth action, and the nice design that gives you this really wide belly blade with this swooping handle that just puts you right at the right angle to meet a cut. On the other hand, the Kapara is a beautiful design. This is a fantastic design. This gives you something that's super smooth to use. It gives you a very serviceable blade and a very nice looking package, something that is up for daily carry, in my opinion, and would serve you really well. So this one's very tough for me to make. I'm going to say I'm not going to make a call. I won't make an official put a sticker on the table call. I will say for me personally, this one is the knife that I purchased. This one is the knife that I borrowed. So for me, intangibles at the moment, because I'm honeymooning with it, is the Spydiechef. It's the one that's been in the pocket. You know, really my first titanium knife that I've gotten into. Just a really interesting knife. I love the blade shape, and I'm really liking this so far. However, you ask me tomorrow, I may make the case for the Kapara, so I really think it's too close to call. So this head-to-head technically is won by the Spydiechef, but man, it's super close. I think that these knives are on par with each other. You can see the quality in both of these. I think you know, I don't know if I want to say a good value for $200, because in a lot of ways $200 is a ridiculous amount of money to spend on a knife to me, still in my head. But I think for what you're getting, like, these are both really solid knives. You can't really go wrong with either one of these. I think this is more of a heavy user. I think this one could absolutely stand up to kind of, you know, daily tasks, but it seems to be a little bit more of a finesse knife. But man, both of them just phenomenal knives. Hope you've enjoyed this conflicted head-to-head, and I'll see you next time.